The 15 rarest gems never seen. Welcome back to Tops, the extraordinary journey where we uncover the hidden stories of the world's most exceptional gemstones. Today, you are about to enter a countdown unlike any other. 15 stones that most people have never laid eyes on. Gems so scarce they rarely appear in jewelry stores or even in museums. But stay alert. The gemstone ranked number 1 carries a value that makes even diamonds look ordinary. Missing it could mean overlooking one of the rarest opportunities in the entire gem world, a detail that might change how you see both collecting and investing forever. If this is your first time here on Tops, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you can join us on future expeditions into the gemstone kingdom. And here's the promise. The deeper we go into this countdown, the rarer the gems become, pushing the limits of rarity itself. By the time you reach number 1, your entire sense of what's possible in gemology may never be the same again. Don't forget to press and hold that like button, leave a comment, and hit subscribe before we begin. Ranked 15th, Ekanite, the gem that destroys itself over time. At number 15, we begin our journey with a gemstone so rare that it is rarely seen even in museums. Ekanite, discovered in Sri Lanka in the 1950s and named for collector F.L.D. Ekanite, carries a contradiction within its crystal lattice. It is one of the few gemstones that contain uranium and thorium, radioactive elements that slowly fracture the stone from within. Instead of enduring, Ekanite erases itself over time. When first faceted, it created a stir. Small ovals and cushions glowed with a smoky green brilliance. Jewelers hoped they had discovered a new collectible. But as the years passed, fractures spread, light dimmed, and the gems collapsed from the inside. The promise of beauty gave way to fear. Unlike diamonds that symbolize eternity, Ekanite revealed a truth few could accept. Not all gems are meant to last. Ekanite forms in metamorphic terrains enriched with radioactive fluids. The crystals are usually olive green to yellow-brown, sometimes transparent enough to cut. But radiation ensures that clarity is temporary. Even the rare faceted specimens, often under 2 carats, bear signs of structural decay. Cloudiness, cracks, or brittleness. In Sri Lanka, nearly every stone found meaning. Sapphires symbolized kingship, moonstones guided journeys. Ekanite, however, entered no rituals, no myths. Local miners called it the stone not to be kept. Its cultural role was defined not by presence, but by absence. A treasure excluded from belief because it could not endure. Gem-quality Ekanite is nearly absent from the market. Museums and laboratories hold the most well-known samples. Auction houses rarely list it. When they do, the stones are tiny, unstable, and treated as curiosities. In theory, a transparent, stable Ekanite could fetch $5,000 to $10,000 per carat, but no such gem survives long enough to prove the price. In hand, Ekanite looks muted, its olive tones veiled by misty fractures. To watch one is to witness a jewel fading in real time, a stone that insists on its own disappearance. If confronted with a gem that destroys itself, would you prize it as a rarity or reject it as unworthy of jewelry? Share your perspective below. Ekanite raises a question without closure. Is value measured by rarity or by endurance? Priceless because almost none survive. Worthless because no one dares to wear them. Its legacy is not in brilliance, but in contradiction. The rare gem that teaches us beauty can also be temporary. Ranked 14th, Hackmanite, the chameleon gem never seen in jewelry. At number 14 comes a gemstone most people will never encounter in its rarest form. Hackmanite, a sulfur-bearing variety of sodalite, hides a secret in plain sight. It can transform color under ultraviolet light and then slowly return to its original shade in darkness. This rare ability, called tenebrescence, makes Hackmanite one of the very few gemstones that seem alive to the eye. Seen under daylight, Hackmanite appears pale lilac, gray, or even white, almost unremarkable. But under UV, it shifts into vivid purple or pink within seconds. In darkness, the color drains, fading like a memory. The stone's identity is never fixed, a quality that defines its rarity and mystery. Hackmanite, which forms in igneous rocks low in silica, was first discovered in Greenland and later in Myanmar, Afghanistan, and Canada. The secret lies in sulfur defects within the crystal lattice, which trap and release electrons when exposed to ultraviolet light. This atomic play creates its visible transformations, a behavior almost unseen among other gemstones. Hackmanite never became a symbol of power. Early descriptions in the 20th century fascinated mineralogists, but its softness and obscurity kept it out of royal treasures. Instead, its history was written in scientific journals and collectors' notebooks, where it earned the nickname the chameleon stone. In local mining regions, Hackmanite was shown to visitors as a curiosity rather than a talisman. It did not enter myths or rituals. Its cultural role is wonder itself, the astonishment of watching light sculpt new colors from stone. Transparent Hackmanite is rare. Most pieces are cut into cabochons to showcase their glow. Stones above 2 carats with strong tenebrescence can fetch thousands of dollars per carat, but they rarely appear at auctions. Instead, Hackmanite remains a collector's prize, circulated quietly in private sales, its fame limited to those who know what to look for. Would you treasure a gem whose value lies not in permanence, but in change? Share your view below. Your answer decides whether Hackmanite is a jewel or a curiosity. As the ultraviolet light fades, so too does the color. No myth, no proclamation, only silence, and a stone that waits for its next brief return to life. Ranked 13th, Hibonite, the oldest gem from the birth of the solar system. At number 13 stands a gem that predates Earth itself. Hibonite, first described in Madagascar in 1956 by geologist Paul Hibon, is not simply rare. It is among the oldest known minerals in the solar system. Tiny crystals of Hibonite have been discovered embedded in meteorites, their age measured at over 4.5 billion years. Few gemstones can claim to be older than the planet beneath our feet. Hibonite forms from calcium, aluminum, and titanium, crystallizing under conditions present in the earliest solar nebula. Its appearance in meteorites provides scientists with evidence of how dust and gas coalesced into planets. Unlike sapphires born in Earth's crust or emeralds tied to mountain ranges, Hibonite belongs to a cosmic narrative, fragments of the very beginning. On Earth, gem-quality Hibonite is found only in Madagascar, and even there, it is nearly absent. Most specimens are opaque, ranging from dark brown to black. Only a handful of faceted stones exist, most weighing less than a carat. These few examples are rarely found outside of museums or private collections. Auction records are almost non-existent. In practical terms, Hibonite is a name whispered among specialists, not a stone displayed in jewelry windows. In Madagascar, Hibonite occurs in aluminous metamorphic rocks. Its crystals are often granular or tabular. Transparent material is the rare exception, not the rule. What can be cut yields earthy tones, deep blue or black, glowing faintly under intense light. The scarcity of face-table crystals explains why Hibonite has never built a presence in the gem trade. Hibonite was never woven into ritual or folklore. Its discovery came in the age of science, not myth. Its cultural value lies in knowledge. Every crystal is a time capsule carried from the dawn of planetary history into human hands. Would you consider Hibonite a gemstone suitable for jewelry or a relic best preserved in scientific archives? Share your thoughts below. Hibonite's story ends not in rings or crowns, but in records. Logged in meteorite catalogs, preserved in museum drawers, studied in laboratories. It survives through documentation. Its legacy is not beauty on display, but data inscribed in archives waiting for future eyes to read the oldest story of all. Ranked 12th, Clinohumite, the gem mistaken for peridot, yet rarely seen. At number 12 is a gem that hides in plain sight. Clinohumite, a magnesium silicate closely related to olivine, was first recognized in the 19th century in Italy's Mount Vesuvius. For decades, gem collectors ignored it, mistaking it for common peridot. Its rarity was disguised by familiarity. What was overlooked as ordinary proved to be rarely seen in gem quality. In the gem market, Clinohumite often appeared mislabeled. Dealers sold crystals as peridot, unaware of the subtle differences. Only advanced analysis revealed its unique chemistry and distinct birefringence. This confusion explains why Clinohumite never gained recognition among jewelers. It was hiding behind another gem's identity. Clinohumite forms in contact metamorphic rocks, particularly in regions where limestone meets magma. Known deposits exist in the Pamir Mountains of Tajikistan, Siberia, Tanzania, and Afghanistan. Faceable specimens are scarce, often appearing in orange to golden brown hues with a vitreous luster. Its crystals are small, fractured, and scarce, limiting the size of polished gems. Clinohumite never adorned crowns or temples. Its history is quiet, shaped by mineralogists and a few adventurous cutters who recognized its true nature. In Tajikistan, tiny pockets of transparent crystals were unearthed in the late 20th century, introducing the world to the possibility of clinohumite as a collector's gem. Transparent stones above 5 carats are nearly unheard of. When they appear, prices can climb into the thousands of dollars per carat, especially for rich orange specimens from Tajikistan. However, the market remains niche. Clinohumite is virtually absent from jewelry stores, being mainly known to specialists who value it for its scarcity rather than its fashion appeal. Clinohumite's most desirable color is a glowing golden orange, sometimes with reddish tones. Faceted gems display a warm fire, yet most pieces remain too small or flawed to cut. To the untrained eye, it may look like peridot, but under light, it reveals a depth and density that mark it as something entirely its own. Would you recognize clinohumite if it were placed next to peridot, or would you pass it by unnoticed? Share your thoughts below. In the end, clinohumite is not defined by legend or trade, but by the stone itself, quiet, glowing, and waiting for those who look closely enough to see what others have overlooked. Ranked 11th. Kornerupine, the two-colored rarity rarely seen. At number 11 comes a gem collectors know by whispers, but most of the world has never seen. Kornerupine, first identified in Greenland in the 19th century and named after Danish geologist Andreas Kornerup, is prized for one elusive trait: pleochroism. Viewed from one angle, it glows green. From another, golden. And from yet another, deep bluish tones emerge. To see Kornerupine is to hold more than one gem at once. Today, transparent Kornerupine is exceedingly rare. Stones above 2 carats are unusual, and anything over 5 is extraordinary. Prices climb into the thousands per carat when pleochroism is strong, yet the gem remains a niche item, circulating quietly among advanced collectors. Jewelers seldom feature it, auctions rarely announce it. Its reputation is defined not by spectacle, but by scarcity. Kornerupine never entered mainstream jewelry. For decades, it was known only as a mineralogical specimen. Only in recent decades have faceted examples begun to appear in the trade, primarily from Madagascar, Myanmar, and Tanzania. Its rise has been slow, driven by rarity rather than tradition. Kornerupine never carried ritual significance. In local communities, it was mined alongside more valuable stones, but was set aside as an oddity. Its meaning today is curiosity, a collector's prize valued for what it refuses to be: ordinary. The stone forms in boron-rich metamorphic rocks, its crystal structure responsible for the striking pleochroism. Prismatic crystals, often fractured, limit the yield of faceable gems. Most Kornerupine found is opaque or translucent, with gem-quality crystals the rare exception. Cut stones show green, yellow, and blue in shifting balance. This subtle dance of color is not dramatic like Alexandrite, but refined, rewarding the patient observer who turns it in the light. If offered a stone that could never decide on a single color, would you treasure its variety or dismiss it as indecisive? Share your view in the comments. Collectors prize it now, while museums guard a few, and miners once overlooked it as ordinary. To understand Kornerupine, one must trace its journey backward, from the hands of connoisseurs to forgotten specimens, to a crystal that once sat unrecognized in the earth. Its rarity is not just in numbers, but in the long delay before the world realized it was there. Ranked 10th. Benitoite, California's lost blue gem never seen again. Crossing into the top 10, we reach a gem that dazzled briefly before vanishing from sight. Benitoite, discovered in San Benito County, California in 1907, is a barium titanium silicate that glows with one of the purest sapphire blue hues ever seen. Declared the official state gem of California in 1985, it is prized for its striking color and strong dispersion, often compared to a diamond. Yet today it is almost absent from the market. At auctions, fine Benitoite gems command thousands of dollars per carat, especially when larger than 2 carats. However, the rarity is not solely in price, it lies in supply. The only commercial source, the Benitoite gem mine in California, has been closed for some time. Without new deposits, every stone now in circulation comes from a finite cache, dwindling year by year. When first discovered, Benitoite confused mineralogists. Its intense blue was mistaken for sapphire until analysis revealed an entirely new mineral. For decades, its locality remained the only known source. Miners pulled vivid crystals from serpentine rock, but production was never steady, and by the late 20th century, the mine had ceased operations. Benitoite forms in hydrothermal veins cutting through serpentine rock, crystallizing in association with naturalite and neptunite. Its striking color comes from trace elements in its lattice. Crystals are typically small and triangular, often fragile, which limits the faceable material. Though named the California State Gem, Benitoite never reached mainstream jewelry houses. It was too rare for mass trade, too limited to support a global market. Its cultural role was symbolic, a gem that belonged to one place and one place only, embodying California's unique geological heritage. Faceted Benitoite reveals a vivid blue with remarkable brilliance. Under ultraviolet light, it fluoresces bright blue-white, a glow unseen in sapphire. But gems larger than 2 carats are already exceptional, and those beyond 5 carats are legendary. Would you consider a stone more dazzling than sapphire if you knew the mine was gone and no more could ever be found? Share your thoughts below. The Benitoite story halts abruptly. The mine is closed, production ended, and the world waits for a discovery that has not come. No closure, no replacement, only the silence of an unfinished chapter. Ranked 9th, Serendibite, the gem pricier than diamond, yet rarely seen. At number 9, the countdown reaches a stone more expensive than a diamond, yet one the public has rarely encountered. Serendibite, first identified in Sri Lanka in 1902, is a complex borosilicate containing calcium, aluminum, and magnesium. It occurs in metamorphosed limestones and skarns, but gem-quality crystals are rare in the natural world. Serendibite was first described by mineralogists working in Sri Lanka's gem gravels. Its name derives from Serendib, the ancient Arabic word for the island itself. From the start, its rarity was apparent. Only a handful of specimens were cataloged in the early 20th century, as they were too small or opaque to be used in jewelry. Decades passed before new deposits were recognized in Myanmar, producing some of the few known fastable crystals. Transparent Serendibite is so rare that auction houses rarely record any sales. In the rarest instances, stones of just 1 to 2 carats have been valued at $14,000 to $18,000 per carat, placing them among the most expensive gems on Earth. Yet even those figures feel hypothetical. There is scarcely any supply. Most collectors and jewelers will never encounter one, and many gemologists have only studied photographs or thin slices under a microscope. Crystals are usually dark blue-green to black, opaque, and granular. Only under exceptional conditions do small transparent zones emerge, which are suitable for cutting. These are the gems that make headlines in the trade, minute, nearly unrepeatable, and immediately locked away in private collections. Serendibite never entered folklore. It left no trace in temple treasures, no mark on royal insignia. Its absence from cultural history mirrors its absence from jewelry counters today. Its meaning lies not in myth, but in scarcity. Faceted Serendibite appears midnight blue to greenish black, sometimes with faint flashes of lighter tones. To the naked eye, it is subtle, too dark for brilliance, too scarce for fashion. Its beauty lies in knowledge, the awareness that almost no one else will ever hold one. If a gemstone exists but is rarely seen, does its value increase, or does it vanish from meaning altogether? Share your thoughts below. Serendibite ends where it began, in absence. Few crystals are cut, fewer still are worn, and almost none are displayed. Its story is not one of glory, but of omission, a gemstone defined by the spaces it has never filled. Ranked 8th, Jeremejevite, the rare gem. Few can even pronounce, let alone see. At number 8 comes a gem with a name few can pronounce, and a presence even fewer have ever seen. Jeremejevite, first described in Siberia in the late 19th century, and named for Russian mineralogist Pavel Jeremejev, is a borate mineral that seems modest at first glance. Pale blue, colorless, or faintly yellow, it rarely calls attention to itself. Yet behind its unassuming face lies one of the rarest collectible gems in existence. Today, faceted Jeremejevite is nearly absent from the market. Fine stones above 1 carat can command prices of $2,000 to $3,000 per carat, but examples over 5 carats are extraordinary. Most cut rocks remain in the hands of private collectors or museums, rarely surfacing at public auctions. Its scarcity means many gemologists have only studied it in literature rather than in practice. Jeremejevite forms in granitic pegmatites rich in boron. Notable deposits are found in Namibia, Myanmar, and Tajikistan, though crystals suitable for cutting are exceedingly rare. Transparent crystals often appear as slender hexagonal prisms, fragile and small, with only fragments yielding faceable material. Though described scientifically in the 1880s, Jeremejevite never entered the commercial gem trade. For decades, it remained a mineralogical curiosity. Its reputation as a gemstone began only after discoveries in Namibia in the 1970s revealed crystals clear enough to facet. Even then, the material was so scarce that it bypassed jewelers and went directly into collectors' vaults. Jeremejevite never built a cultural identity. No myths, no temples, no rituals. Its significance is modern, a stone whose value rests not in tradition, but in scarcity, a reflection of how rarity alone can shape desire. Faceted Jeremejevite is subtle, transparent, sometimes icy blue, with a brilliance that rewards careful light. To casual eyes, it may resemble topaz or aquamarine, but its rarity elevates it far above. Would you consider a gem valuable if it looked ordinary, but existed in numbers too small to satisfy even the most elite collectors? Share your thoughts below. Jeremejevite embodies contradiction, modest in face, immense in rarity, ordinary in look, extraordinary in value. A gemstone that asks whether beauty alone defines worth or whether scarcity writes its own law. Ranked 7th, Grandidierite, the bluish-green gem ranked among the world's rarest. At number 7, the countdown arrives at a gemstone consistently ranked among the rarest on Earth. Grandidierite, first described in Madagascar in 1902 and named after French explorer Alfred Grandidier, this borosilicate mineral is known for its striking bluish-green hue. This color holds both sea and sky within a single crystal. Grandidierite is regularly listed in professional surveys as one of the top 10 rarest gemstones in the world. Yet for all its fame in words, in reality, it is rarely seen. Few jewelers have handled it, fewer still have sold it. Most people who know its name have only read about it, rather than experiencing it firsthand. The finest Grandidierite crystals come from southern Madagascar, particularly near Tranamaro. It forms in pegmatites and aluminous rocks, often associated with minerals such as biotite and sillimanite. Transparent specimens are scarce. Most crystals are opaque or translucent. The exceptional few exhibit a vibrant bluish-green with pleochroic flashes that shift between blue, green, and clear. When transparent stones appear, they fetch astonishing prices. Faceted gems above 1 carat can command $20,000 to $30,000 per carat. In 2015, a 4.3-carat transparent Grandidierite shocked the gem world when it entered an auction, drawing attention for being one of the very few cut stones ever seen at that size. Yet such events are anomalies. The market remains quiet, dominated by whispers among collectors. Grandidierite never entered crowns or rituals. Its story is written by scientists and gem dealers rather than monarchs or priests. In Madagascar, local miners consider it a curiosity, but global fame has outpaced its local use. It has no ancient myths, only a modern reputation built on absence. A fine Grandidierite exhibits a deep bluish-green color that shifts under different lighting conditions. To see one is to experience rarity in color, a stone that feels alive with subtle change, then vanishes back into secrecy. Would you choose a gem valued for what it rarely gives, clarity and brilliance, or prefer stones more abundant but less elusive? Share your thoughts below. Grandidierite speaks briefly in flashes of blue-green fire, then falls silent again, hidden in vaults and collections. Its rarity is not just in numbers, but in the silence that follows its name. Known by reputation, unseen by nearly everyone. Ranked 6th, Painite, once the rarest mineral on Earth, rarely seen. At number 6, we reach a stone that once held a world record, Painite. First described in Myanmar in the 1950s by British gemologist Arthur C.D. Payne, it was immediately recognized as something unusual. Its hexagonal crystals, brownish-red in color, carried elements of zirconium and boron rarely seen together. For decades afterward, only 2 known crystals existed, locked away in museums. Painite entered gemological archives as the world's rarest mineral. Through the second half of the 20th century, every textbook repeated the same line. Only 2 Painite crystals are known. For collectors and researchers, it was more a legend than a gem. The scarcity was so absolute that Painite became more famous for being missing than for being seen. Painite forms in boron-rich metamorphic rocks, often associated with ruby and spinel in Myanmar's Mogok region. Its crystals are hexagonal prisms, frequently fractured, usually in hues of brownish-red to orange-red. Transparent zones are extremely rare, limiting the number of stones that can be cut. In the early 2000s, small new deposits were finally uncovered in Myanmar. Hundreds of crystals were found, enough to facet a few. The stone instantly moved from nearly extinct to ultra-rare. Yet even with these finds, fine faceted gems larger than 2 carats remain almost non-existent. At auction, Painite draws collectors who value its history as much as its look. Prices range from $50,000 to $60,000 per carat for fine faceted gems, but so few appear that values remain mostly symbolic. Jewelers rarely use it. Its supply is too thin, its name too obscure for mainstream demand. Unlike sapphire or jade, Painite never had time to gather myths or cultural roles. Its reputation is purely scientific and archival, the gem that once existed only as a note in mineralogical records. Faceted Painite reveals deep reddish-brown hues with flashes of orange, similar to garnet but heavier, denser, and infinitely rarer. To hold one is to grasp a fragment of a gemological record once thought impossible. Would you value a gem for its beauty or for the fact that it was once nearly lost to history? Share your perspective below. Painite's legacy is written in the archives. Once the rarest mineral on Earth, from 2 crystals in museums to a handful of gems in private hands, it survives as an entry in the record. Proof that sometimes rarity is not measured by brilliance, but by the weight of documentation. Ranked 5th, Musgravite, prissier than diamond, yet rarely seen. At number 5, the countdown turns to a gemstone whispered about in high-end auctions. Musgravite. Discovered in 1967 in the Musgrave Ranges of South Australia, this gem is part of the Taaffeite family, a magnesium aluminum oxide that is one of the hardest stones after corundum. Initially, it was so rare that, for decades, only a handful of crystals were known to exist. Musgravite has earned a reputation as a gem that exceeds diamond in price. In the 2000s, stones of fine quality reached $35,000 to $50,000 per carat, and even higher for prominent, clean examples. Unlike ruby or emerald, Musgravite never built an industry. Its production is too low. Instead, it is a trophy gem, pursued by elite collectors and rarely offered to the public. When first identified, Musgravite was often confused with Taaffeite, its close cousin. Only with advanced spectroscopy could mineralogists separate the two. This confusion contributed to its obscurity, as dealers sometimes sold it unknowingly under another name. Once recognized as distinct, its rarity became its defining story. Musgravite forms in metamorphic terrains rich in aluminum and beryllium, often associated with spinel. Deposits are reported in Sri Lanka, Madagascar, and Tanzania, though only in trace amounts. Faceable crystals are incredibly scarce, with most weighing less than 5 carats. Larger gems are nearly legendary. Musgravite holds no myths or cultural legacy. Its role is entirely modern, a gem known for scarcity and price rather than ritual. Collectors speak of it as a status rarity, valuable because so few can own it. Musgravite typically appears in subtle tones of grayish-green, occasionally with violet or blue-gray undertones. Its beauty is understated, not flamboyant. What elevates it is not fiery brilliance, but the knowledge that each faceted stone represents one of the scarcest chances in gemology. Would you pursue a gemstone not for its appearance, but for its reputation as rarer and more valuable than a diamond? Share your answer below. Ultimately, musgravite is defined by the stone itself. A muted color, a fragile supply, a staggering value. No myths, no temples, just a crystal whose objecthood alone makes it one of the rarest gems the world will rarely see. Ranked fourth, Taaffeite, the rare gem discovered by accident in a shop window. At number 4, the countdown turns to one of the most unusual gemstone stories of the 20th century. Taaffeite, named after gemologist Richard Taaffeite, is perhaps the only gemstone in history to be identified after it was already cut. In 1945, Taaffeite purchased what he thought was a spinel in a Dublin jeweler's shop. Under close study, he realized it was something entirely different. A gemstone was discovered not in a mine, but in a jewelry shop window. The chance find marked the beginning of Taaffeite's identity. No one had ever recorded it before. The rarity of the event reflected the rarity of the stone itself, so scarce that it escaped notice until fate placed it in the right hands. Taaffeite belongs to the magnesium aluminum oxide family, closely related to spinel, but distinguished by its birefringence. Its colors range from lavender to mauve, pink to violet. Deposits have since been traced to Sri Lanka, Myanmar, and Tanzania, but even in these localities, gem-quality crystals are nearly absent. Faceted Taaffeite remains among the rarest stones in trade. Gems over 2 carats are already extraordinary. Prices can climb to $20,000 per carat for fine, vivid colors, though supply is too thin for a stable market. Collectors value it for the oddity of its discovery as much as for its scarcity. Taaffeite has no ancient legends, no crowns, no temples. Its cultural presence begins and ends with a single moment of recognition by one man. Unlike ruby or sapphire, its legacy is not woven into society. It is an accident frozen in gemological history. Cut Taaffeite gems exhibit a soft glow, with delicate violet and pink hues that shift subtly under different lighting conditions. Yet few exist for jewelers to set. Most examples reside in private collections or gemological references, more studied than worn. Would you treasure a gemstone discovered not by miners or kings, but by chance in a shop window? Share your view below. Taaffeite's story stops where it starts. An accident of observation, a few crystals from scattered deposits, no sweeping arc of history or myth. Its narrative is cut short. Like the stone itself, it ends abruptly, leaving only fragments for collectors to piece together. Ranked third, blue garnet, the color-changing gem rarely seen. At number 3, the countdown arrives at a gemstone that seems ordinary until the light changes. Blue garnet, a variety of pyrope-spessartine garnet discovered in the 1990s in Madagascar, is one of the rarest color change stones known. By daylight, it can appear green to bluish-green. Under incandescent light, it transforms to deep purplish red. This dual identity places it among the rarest gems ever seen. Today, blue garnet is a collector's prize. Faceted gems over 1 carat are exceedingly rare, and anything larger than 5 is almost mythical. At auctions, fine examples have fetched $1,500 to $3,000 per carat, but the scarcity of supply makes these prices more symbolic than stable. Before its discovery in Madagascar, no garnet was known to turn blue. The find shocked gemologists, redefining what garnet could be. Small quantities have also been found in the United States, Kenya, and Tanzania. However, none exhibit the striking shifts from bluish-green to red that the Madagascar material provides. Blue garnet carries no long mythology. Its identity is modern, shaped by collectors who prize its color change more than tradition. On the broader gem market, it remains almost unknown to the public. Blue garnet's extraordinary shift is caused by traces of vanadium and chromium in its lattice, the same elements responsible for Alexandrite's famed transformation. But while Alexandrite has centuries of fame, blue garnet is a newcomer, discovered too late to become a legend and too rare to become mainstream. In daylight, it glows teal or bluish-green. Under incandescent light, it flashes a red-purple hue. To hold one is to see two gems in one body, a transformation that makes it almost unique among garnets. Would you prefer a gemstone with a single, perfect color, or one that reveals two distinct identities depending on the light? Share your perspective below. Collectors covet it now, auctions whisper its name, and its discovery in Madagascar shocked a trade that thought it knew garnets. But its story begins in reverse, first as a modern rarity, then as a geological surprise, and finally as a gemstone rarely seen by the wider world. Ranked second, Alexandrite, the legendary color change gem rarely seen in large sizes. At number 2, we encounter a gemstone whose reputation precedes it. Alexandrite, famous for its dramatic color change from green in daylight to red under incandescent light, it is already rare in standard sizes. But in exceptional sizes above 5 carats, it becomes a phantom, rarely seen outside of museums or elite private collections. Discovered in Russia's Ural Mountains in the 1830s and named in honor of Tsar Alexander II, Alexandrite quickly became a symbol of imperial wealth. The dual colors, green and red, were seen as mirroring the colors of the Russian military, cementing its prestige among aristocrats. Yet even during its prime, fine crystals were scarce. Most of the original Russian material was exhausted by the early 20th century. Today, Alexandrite is mined in Brazil, Sri Lanka, and East Africa. However, large, clean crystals with a substantial color change are rarely found. Stones above 5 carats can command $50,000 to $100,000 per carat, depending on clarity and intensity of shift. At auctions, bidding wars erupt over specimens that demonstrate vivid emerald green by day and deep ruby red by night. Still, such stones surface perhaps once in a decade. Alexandrite is a variety of chrysoberyl colored by chromium. The delicate balance of chemistry required for its color change means deposits are minimal. Most stones available to jewelers are under 1 carat, often with muted shifts. The legendary rocks, the ones over 5 carats with razor-sharp transformation, are the ones that live in whispered legend rather than daily trade. Beyond Russia, Alexandrite has come to symbolize duality, transformation, and balance. In the West, it is often referred to as the gem of the modern age, embodying change and adaptability. Yet even with its fame, it remains absent from ordinary jewelry, living instead as an unattainable ideal. An exceptional Alexandrite turns from vivid green in sunlight to deep crimson under a candle flame. The transformation feels almost theatrical, leaving silence in its wake, as if the stone itself has stepped off stage. If you could own only one, would you choose a diamond known by all, or an Alexandrite so rare it may never appear again? Share your thoughts below. The light fades, the color shifts, and silence follows. Alexandrite lingers in memory as a transformation glimpsed but never entirely held, an unfinished note before the final climax. In first place, red beryl, 1,000 times rarer than diamond, rarely seen. At number 1, the countdown closes with a stone described as 1,000 times rarer than a diamond. Known scientifically as red beryl, and sometimes referred to as bixbite, this crystal is found in only one location on Earth, the Wawa Mountains of Utah, USA. No other locality has ever produced gem-quality material in quantity. Its rarity is not just in its color, but in its confinement to a single mountain range. Red beryl is a beryllium aluminum silicate colored by manganese. Like emerald and aquamarine, it belongs to the beryl family, but its unique red tones set it apart. The formation requires a perfect alignment of beryllium, manganese, and geological conditions that are rarely repeated in Earth's history. This explains why thousands of prospectors have searched elsewhere, and nearly all have failed. The first documented occurrence of red beryl was in the early 20th century, but it was not until the 1950s that mining began in Utah. Even then, production was minimal. Most crystals are too small, too fractured, or too opaque to cut. Decades of effort yielded only a handful of gems suitable for fine jewelry. By the late 20th century, red beryl had become a legend whispered among collectors, a stone that existed but rarely appeared. When transparent stones over 1 carat emerge, they command staggering prices, $10,000 per carat or more, depending on clarity and saturation. Stones larger than 2 carats are extraordinary. Anything over 5 is essentially museum grade. For comparison, far more flawless diamonds enter the market each year than cut red beryls in a decade. Red beryl has no myths, no rituals, no place in crowns or temples. Its significance is purely modern, an icon of rarity, valued not for historical symbolism, but for geological uniqueness. It embodies the concept of a gem you will almost certainly never see in person. Fine red beryl glows with intense raspberry red to purplish red hues, rivaling ruby in saturation. Yet its crystals are tiny and fragile, limiting what can be cut. To hold one is to grasp not just a gem, but the improbable outcome of Earth's rarest recipe. Would you consider red beryl the ultimate gemstone? Rarer than diamond, locked to one mountain, almost absent from jewelry? Share your view below. Red beryl's power is twofold. It exists as a gem of breathtaking red fire, yet it is absent from the world at large. No crowns, no markets, no abundance. Only a few crystals, each one a singular object of rarity. It closes the countdown not with myth or spectacle, but with finality, a stone so rare that, for most, it will remain unseen forever. Thank you for staying with us until the very end. If you'd like to continue exploring the hidden world of gemstones with Tops, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our upcoming stories. We'll be back soon with another episode, one that dives even deeper into the secrets of Earth's rarest treasures. Until then, take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the next chapter.